Now, when I tell you it was perfect, I added some tweaks. That cold vibe coding thing, I hate it. I can't deny how great it is because I will give you this. Like anyone doing it who doesn't have traditional coding or software engineering experience, cool, you can do it very easy. Just tell it what you do. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Autonomous Income. I'm your co-host, Deuce Noble.
And I'm your co-host, DJ. What's going on today, Deuce?
Hey, DJ, you know we live in an exciting time, exciting world. So we got some new things to talk about today, all the things, new things going on with AI and technology, how you can apply that to your business use, whether you are an entrepreneur or a small business or just your everyday, regular, average Joe. So a couple things I'd like to let's talk about Anthropic. They have announced Claude Design. I think they just dropped pretty new and it is sweet, as well as OpenAI. Of course, they dropped their Images 2.0, which is Nano Banana, Be Afraid. All right. And then a couple other things. But yeah, DJ, what else you got? What you got on your plate?
Yeah, man. So the sources are saying you can replace a $4,000 a month admin assistant with a $30 a month software right now. Apple also just handed Google the keys to Siri, and Microsoft and OpenAI quietly got a divorce this morning. Yeah, man, buckle up. This is gonna be the most expensive episode you'll listen to all week.
And look, just to up the ante and make it a little bit pricier, we can also, we'll lightly cover, but Google has quietly announced they're invest as much as 40 billion, anywhere between 10 to 40 billion would it be billion into Anthropic. So that would be something interesting. So listen, the money is flying again, and it is an all-out war.
It is, man. Definitely, man. Let's get into it. Where you want to start?
You know what? Let's start with what Apple's been up to because we haven't talked about them in a while. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Go ahead and start with that.
Yeah, man. So like I was saying before, Apple just handed Google the keys to Siri. And we've talked about this before because it was rumored last year. I want to say last year, Deuce, right? We brought this up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I think around the January timeframe, Apple announced a multi-year deal worth about $1 billion with Google Gemini to power the next generation of Apple's foundation models. So you remember Apple had this big thing, years ago. Everybody kind of remembers it. What was it? Apple Intelligence and all of those things.
Intelligence.
Yes, Apple Intelligence was kind of a big thing, and a lot of that didn't come to fruition. Some of it did, like some of the text and the text improvements and proofread and stuff like that. But so Apple looked at OpenAI, they looked at Anthropic, but they chose Google. And then looks like last Wednesday around sometime, Google confirmed that the new Gemini-powered Siri is officially launching later this year. So that's an official announcement. So that means that when we get the new devices, September, October, usually when they have those, Siri is going to have a whole new thing that's going on. So my thing is, what does that actually mean? Like you and I both using both platforms, Android, iOS, and all those other things. I'm actually excited about it. So what's your take on it? What's your 2 cents? Like, are you excited? Not excited? Does that, because the capability.
Man,
imagine having a capable Siri. So
I can say that absolutely changes the landscape and dynamic of software for our phones that we know it, right? You got to think the 2 biggest producers of cellular devices in the world. I mean, there are other OSs still out there that are live, right? But you got to think iOS, Android, Apple, Google, they run it. The fact that they're teaming up for this type of partnership, a Gemini-enabled Siri, that's kind of crazy because
that's crazy, man. It's crazy.
I mean, if you think about it, that's the tip of the iceberg. What else will they unlock? What else will Apple give them the keys to? What might Google hand over to Apple? You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, though. Also, man, it's like, so Apple, as we both know, like their, privacy, all this other stuff, they're baked into all of this stuff, right? And that's like why a lot of people, especially in the cybersecurity and just security industries in general, they lean towards Apple typically because of that reason. But now, so the company that kind of runs even commercials in the past about how much they don't like to share kind of data with Google and all this other stuff, now it's kind of powered by Google. So it's kind of like just a paradigm shift in how that works. And I don't know if it's necessarily a loss for Apple because Apple still, in my opinion, they make great hardware, right? So Deuce, if you kind of think about it, it's kind of like we get the best of both worlds, which, I mean, like imagine having Apple hardware. If you like that, you get, if you're used to the platform, the ecosystem, if you're in that walled garden or whatever they call it, and then now you also get the brains of Gemini and all those things. And can't wait to see how it stitched together, like if it works with the automations and all that, like how they execute on it. But I'm excited about having both those worlds, because on the opposite side of it, if you're on Android, they're already taking advantage of a lot of Gemini features, and I'm waiting to see what they do with the Pixel 11 Pro or whatever, or Ultra or whatever they're doing on that side also, because it's going to be
So,
interesting in these different use
so
cases now.
another thing that's really interesting though is this news is coming off the heels of Tim Cook announcing
That's
he's
facts.
stepping down, right? So what makes this to me a little bit interesting or even dicey is like, all right, you know what? I wonder if that was one of the things that was blocking them in the first place, right? Because, like you said, this is all very new and happening in the real time. However, like you said, it's the best of both worlds. And I'd be interested to see, like I said, what else could happen. But we've also talked about Apple had to give up that AI race a long time ago. Apple Intelligence, we know, like you said, they are great with their hardware and devices. They are not winning that AI software battle. They were just too far behind, and I think they realized it in order to catch up. They weren't going to be
I
able
mean,
to.
I'm
So
sure they're still working on their foundation models in the
they got
background, no deuce,
something,
right?
of
They
course.
have to, right? Like I'm pretty
It,
sure they are.
it might be interesting to see how that does mesh with that interface once you bring Gemini over. What it will
Yep.
look like? Is it still going to be called Gemini? Is it still going to be called Siri? Are they going to make a whole new name for
Wonder
it?
if they're
You know
gonna
what I
stick
mean?
with Apple Intelligence, man, and just like powered by
Listen, they better
Gemini. I
not.
don't know. We're gonna see. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I
I don't
better
know.
not. Look, come over for a new naming convention.
So what? I mean, is that gonna change your daily workflow though? What would you think would be your first thing that you're gonna ask it when you get your iPhone and you're gonna ask, this new Gemini Siri or whatever they're gonna call it?
Listen,
What's the first thing that you're gonna ask?
I'm gonna throw the book at it. I'm gonna make sure it's legit. The first of all, that's one thing I know. Listen, all right, you say you got your man, let's test it out. You know what I mean? But no, I think that I don't know. I would definitely use it. Like I said, I am
Yeah.
currently an iPhone user, and I do enjoy the ecosystem. But however, I use Google products heavily, even on my iOS device. I
Yes.
have all the Google apps, and I even use Hey Google on my iPhone.
And you can even
So
say
it'll
that in
be
my house.
interesting.
About 60 devices will go off
Hey,
if you
listen,
say the
my
trigger word,
device
man.
is
Yeah.
lit up. You know what I'm saying? So
And he's like, yeah,
I'm actually going to be interested to see how that turns out, what comes of it. Listen, this is a partnership that is a little bit scary. You know what I'm saying? And I've been saying it.
yeah.
Skynet is formed by these
God.
conglomerate companies.
I mean,
I'm
look,
telling you,
so you got to think about it now, Deuce. That means Google has the Android ecosystem. It also runs on iPhone now and Samsung, right? Because Samsung is like sometimes they have their platform. So do you think that that's too much in one company? Like to kind of, what's the 2 cents on that? Because the thing is like, that's a lot for one company. So I have my take, but kind of want to hear
listen, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm serious. I mean, but you got to think if you look at it like that way, it's a tiered, structure. You
yeah.
got Google at the main node, and then you got Samsung and Apple, right, closely behind. So I think I don't know, man. It's just like a tight race, no matter how you see it. But the thing is, Samsung, I don't think they do what they're doing, but they're not going to be able to compete with that. They
Or they
can't.
have Bixby. I think that was
Is that their
their,
AI? I thought their AI was something to
no, their
that
Siri,
was
I
their
believe,
assistant. But is that don't they have a
yeah.
different AI?
I don't know if
I'm
they
not
have
even
AI,
sure.
but yeah, there's Siri, then there's Bixby and then Google Assistant, and now I think it's just called Gemini or whatever case is. But either way, that kind of leads me into the next thing. So, and well, to give my 2 cents and my kind of perspective on that, I think it's because Google doubled down on the consumer segment, right? Like they just kind of hyper focused. That's their market, and they kind of really focused on that, which leads me into my next question. You've been talking about Anthropic and all this other stuff, advancements. We've been talking about that with Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and just all these things, and Anthropic just on the coding realm. For you being a developer and all of those things, does it seem like
Right.
Anthropic is going to be the coding king now, and then Google is going to be the consumer king? Like, is that where the
Feel
divergence is?
like
It's like,
I mean, if you think about it, Anthropic has been really killing it with code, and we've talked about this. They have been sticking to their guns as far as what got them, kind of out the mud. Code has been their go-to. OpenAI has come close. Claude and Anthropic and Claude Code has, just up the ante every time, right? They stay competitive, and I think that is their sweet spot. And it's interesting because a few things has happened with Anthropic lately, and this is a perfect segue because not only have they been doing well with Claude Code, they have now introduced Claude Design, right?
mm-hmm.
And we talked about Mythos, right?
Yep. Anthropic
Now they've
Mythos,
dropped
yeah.
Claude Design, which is pretty sweet, right? And
Yeah, we'll get into that for
I have
sure.
not
Yeah.
played with it yet, but it is definitely on my list, and it's probably top 5 of things to do and to check out. But it's a great vision model. It's pretty sweet from what I've seen. And if you pair that with Claude Code, right, you have realistic prototypes, product wireframes and mockups, pitch decks, presentations,
Yeah.
anything you can think of. Design is their front of mind thing that they are doing. And honestly, and I
And
mean,
it looks good from what I've seen. I haven't played around with it yet. I've been using Claude Cowork, but not necessarily design, but that's definitely it. And we'll get into there. But one thing for a tip for our entrepreneurs, dual entrepreneurs, if you're still kind of in corporate and also building your business on the side, search optimization is about to matter again, because now you got to think about it. If Siri is competent and she's able to kind of grab information, your business needs to be one of those answers that she asks for. So if you're saying, hey, like Deuce, if find me a business that does XYZ, that's within my radius or whatever the case is, right? You want to be a part of that. So voice search optimization is definitely something that you may want to start getting ahead of. And just like the app store dynamics now, it may shift a little bit. Siri be able to do, more tasks and everything like that. Like, actually be capable of some kind of automations and everything like that. Cause, there was some before, but like this might be more robust. So, just interesting, as we kind of talked through there. So definitely more to come, on that. But
absolutely. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, like you hit the nail on the head. That voice search, especially for small businesses in any event, or just anyone that wants to be hands free, that's going to really be take the cake and again, up the ante for what's to come.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that's going to be cool.
So what's about this design?
Listen, on top of the handoff to Claude Code, but on top of that, like, I mean, if you think about it, and I hate to continue to double down on this, but it's looking very meek for developers in a sense. And I'll say this, if you do not learn how to use AI tools to assist in whatever you're doing or making, it's
Yeah.
not going to be end well, because the thing about this is you don't look at it as, oh, this thing is going to take my job. No, how can this thing help me with the job I currently have, and I use it to exponentially grow whatever I'm doing? And I think that's important for not only entrepreneurs, not only people who work that regular 9 to 5, whether you're a developer, but those entrepreneurs, small business owners as well. Hey, how can I use this tool, whether it's Cloud Code, design, whatever it is, to how can I use this tool to assist
Now,
me
for entrepreneurs specifically, though, like, of course, you'd be allowed to, because there are
if you're
one
allowed
thing
to?
I
There
think
are.
Juice and I have to bring up is like coming from corporate, there's like those rules and everything on what
There's
you
red
can and
tape.
can't use. And yeah, so hopefully, more corporations are starting to enable features like these, but definitely check with that, before you jump into just, that, because yeah,
Absolutely. But
yeah.
man, can you imagine like the things that this thing can build out and be pretty almost spot on,
And I'm
right?
hot. Do you want my honest take? I am hot. And you know why? Because where was this at when we were, building, when it's
Listen,
desktop
okay,
PowerPoint, it had to be, hey, can we make this,
okay.
this deck and that deck and let's bring in this data and all that. Now it's just like,
I'm a,
it's really,
I'm gonna
really
give
cool.
you an example real quick.
Really
Um,
cool, man.
really quick. So I was teaching a lesson on something, right? And I had asked a partner of mine, I was like, hey, I want to do some review for some people and I want to just make it fun for them. Like, do you have a Jeopardy game I can use? It's like, oh, yeah, I made this a couple years ago. I did it in PowerPoint. It works really well. All you got to do is put the information. I was like, cool. I looked at it. I was like, I don't got time for that. I went into Gemini Studio and was like, hey, I need you to build me out a Jeopardy game. And when I tell you it did the thing so fast, where was this? Because you know how long it would take me to
Man,
code that? When I was in school, I
that's,
did something like that, and it took me
I'm saying,
some time to code.
yeah.
And not only just code it, but make it right. But I'm talking about the design was right. And that was just Gemini Studio. Now, when I tell you it was perfect, I added some tweaks. That cold vibe coded thing. I hate it. Honestly, I do. As a peer developer, I hate it.
That's what I'm asking you. Like, from a
Nah, I
developer
hate it.
standpoint, you
But
know,
but I can't deny how great it is, because I will give you this. Like, anyone doing it who doesn't have traditional coding or software engineering experience, cool, you can do it very easy. Just tell it what to do. But now with me specifically, I know how to tweak it in ways where I need it to look and feel
Yeah,
a
so you
certain
have an
way,
advantage. You have an advantage.
right?
Yeah, that's good.
And
Good.
I
Yeah.
think that's why this is why I'm saying like software developers use this within reason within your company. If you're an entrepreneur, you're just someone starting something,
Even
use
if
this
you're a
to
dual
your advantage.
entrepreneur, if you're, doing your thing inside and
Man,
then
I'm gonna tell
also,
you right now because
building. Yeah.
I'm gonna be I'm gonna be in cloud code like it's something serious. I built me an app using Perplexity computer
I'm
things.
in anti-gravity heavy, man. I haven't used Claude Code yet, but I have used Claude Code Work, which
Listen,
is basically Claude Code, but but yeah, yeah. I'm
listen.
excited. On one hand, I'm excited to do this, but on the other, I'm just like, man, where was this at?
Well,
Because I just
let me tell
remember
you what
so
else
many
is
times in Excel spreadsheets and all this other stuff, like putting
okay.
pivot tables together and all that. And then, bro, and then now all of a sudden, now it's just like you could just basically say, hey, I need to do
First of
this.
all,
And it's like, bam. And it's awesome, but golly.
you know how many hours, I can't say wasted, but know how many hours I have spent trying to find a bug in code?
Yeah,
Like,
debugging.
and I'm talking sleepless nights, bloodshot. And like, I love where we're going, but I hate it because like, I love being able to code and like do that, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't even need to open up another terminal again. I don't need to open up nothing.
Man, well, I mean, that's like those people that like PowerPoints, right? Like they're very particular about how it looks and all this other stuff. Like some of
I
them,
was that
like
person too.
yeah, there's some of them are just like
I
man,
was that person
like
too.
that's kind of my
Man,
thing. And then now you can
when I
just
was in
whip
grad
it up.
school, I had man. Listen, I'll get into it another time. But let me dial back. I want to say this because Anthropic is doing so well across the board right now. You know, well, let's talk into a little bit of money because the money play is at play right now, and
Mm.
Google has decided to put anywhere from 10 to 40 billion in
With a B,
Anthropic
say
with a
what you said.
B,
With a B, oh, man,
Billy, right?
Billy.
So, but this investment is already after Amazon initial $5 billion
Yeah.
investment. So,
I mean, you got to think about
so
it like sounds like because they're trying to spread that risk around. Because we're talking about Google, right? Google, we were just talking about Gemini, and we know Google I/O is coming. We know probably Gemini 4 and all these things. But it looks like they're also looking over the fence. They're like, man, Mythos. Maybe this confirms that, man, Mythos is real. Like maybe they were a part of the. I think they were a part of some of the companies that were,
of course they were.
ahead of time. So if that's the case, they're kind
Amazon,
of just like, hey, that's not bad. Let's go ahead and it's diversification, man, of the portfolio. So
they are getting their money's worth out of that company, and Anthropic is eating it up, right? And it's
yeah.
interesting because I'll say this to me, the vast difference between OpenAI and Anthropic is Anthropic is willing to be consumed and used, and OpenAI is like, nah, we're on this on our own. You know what? We could take
Yeah.
y'all all down. That's how I feel. That's what I feel like because OpenAI don't, and I'm not saying that they can't, but the race is getting tighter. I don't know, it's already been tight, but I don't know how much tighter it can
Yeah.
get. But
Well, I think also because that kind of gets into what we're talking about before, like with Microsoft and OpenAI, the divorce
yes,
that basically that they just had, and I think that gets into what you said because you brought up a good point. Maybe they couldn't because OpenAI, I think they had to run through, if I wasn't mistaken, they had to run through Microsoft Rails. You know what I mean? Before that agreement. So basically, hours ago, it's been reported, and sources were saying Microsoft and OpenAI announced that they amended their deal today. So the headlines, Microsoft is no longer the exclusive cloud partner for OpenAI, and then OpenAI can now run its products on Amazon, Google, or anywhere else. So Microsoft no longer pays the revenue share to OpenAI, on OpenAI products it resells, which now I don't know, that's because, OpenAI is burning through cash, and all this other stuff. So that's just interesting. But it says OpenAI still pays Microsoft a cut through 2030, but now it's capped. But AWS already announced that OpenAI is coming to the Bedrock, their platform, in the next couple of weeks. But the weird thing that's, wasn't quite mentioned, there was like a little clause or something mentioned about AGI. So like, I think it was like if OpenAI reached AGI. So it looks like Microsoft no longer needs to determine what to do if OpenAI builds artificial, AGI, basically, if they build that out. There's not like a decision. I think that was kind of in the clause before. So that part to me is interesting. What's your take on that?
it's been the same. I mean, if I give my 2 cents on OpenAI, they always have something up their sleeve and they're ready and willing to throw down with anyone. And I think
Mm,
them, this deal falling apart is them saying we're doubling down on ourselves and betting on ourselves because we're not going to be able to get it done the way you want to.
mm.
Same reason why the Disney deal probably fell apart. I'm just speculating, but I think OpenAI is in it for a much bigger thing that we may not be privy to yet. And I'm interested to see what happens when the other shoe falls because we live and have been saying OpenAI always has something up their sleeve, no matter what. It has been proven true, at least from what I can tell, every time something drops. And like you said, we're getting into that season of Google I/O coming up,
A little bit later on.
WWDC,
And then, of course,
Facebook's.
OpenAI has their own, like, they have their own
Exactly.
conferences and everything as well. So we'll see with those announcements, like if there's anything else. They did release 5.5, which we'll be going over as well. But I guess my thing is, there was also, and you bring up a good point, dudes, like there was, I guess the rumor mill was going on and speculation about, OpenAI wanting more compute. And Microsoft was like, we don't need more compute. And, they were going to try to, build out all this other stuff. And essentially it just sounds like it might have been, just disagreements on, how that is, because maybe Microsoft needs their own compute and they didn't have enough for the OpenAI's demand. Whatever the case is, do you think Microsoft is kind of working on their own models? And this is kind of like, they're kind of like, hey, we have this on, we're good now, or we've gotten our own thing.
I think it's a little bit of both. It's probably they were looking to do something or add something to Copilot. However, Microsoft is probably working on their own models, and Copilot does some good things, right? However, they're probably looking to add something to their suite of tools, whether it's their cloud 365 or even their, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, things of that nature. But that's just what I think. But I mean, if we think about it, right, like you just said, OpenAI just dropped a 5.5, but you know what else they just announced? It dropped Images 2.0. And when I tell you Nano Banana, look out, it is looking pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, coming off the heels or the cusp or the inception of that Microsoft deal falling apart, also here goes Images 2.0. You know what? And I'm not saying that those two things are correlated, but it's never fails. OpenAI said, we got something. You know what? We're taking those servers offline from Sora too. And here goes Images 2.0. I have not played with it yet or tried it out,
Oh,
but
I jumped in now. I jumped in on it.
okay. So let me ask you this. In comparison, because Nano Banana for me personally has been a pretty stark standard as far as creating things that I really need, including typography, words, realism. How does Images 2.0 stand the latest Nano Banana model?
Yeah, Nano Banana 2 or Nano Banana Pro. That was the industry standards. I would say like a lot of people were kind of leveraging that and still do. Like I still find this stuff with Nano Banana. There's still, some areas, but I would say I just don't like the naming convention. I love Nano Banana Pro, right? Like, I mean, I love what Google and Gemini, they got good with their naming convention. OpenAI, as you said before, I think we had a whole episode about their naming conventions, but
Yeah,
the image 2,
it's
whatever they're calling it
I
on that
guess
side, I wish
it's
they give it a cool name.
GPT Imagen 2.
Too, exactly. So, anyway, but it is definitely solid, coherent. Like, dude, you can make like comic books now. Like, if you had an idea of a character
Hey,
and kind of put it in there, it
listen,
has like the words, like, it's like, you can have full infographics. So, for entrepreneurs that are at work and everything like that, if you have access to leverage these type of models, and it might come through co-work, because the partnership or potentially, whatever that case is, how they work it out. Long story short, if you need to build an infograph, I would highly suggest using that. Not only does it pull in data, other context and everything like that, because it's a thinking image model is what they're saying, and it's, reasoning and
and
all
not
this other stuff. But that, I mean, it's just very solid. And to me, it's a little bit faster than the original one that came out. And maybe that's because they're not spending all the GPU power with Sora. They're kind of weaning that down and serving, this model for the images, man. But whew, solid.
it looks sweet. Okay, so is it enough for you to resubscribe to OpenAI and ChatGPT?
Man, why are you coming out here with that?
Hey,
I'm gonna have
listen,
to,
because all I'm saying is these images look great. Okay, if you had a valid enough use case, because my thing
I
is this.
mean, I don't know if it would be just because of the image model that would make me, do like like, 'cause remember for a while I was pro, right? And that was pro. And I think what made me go pro was, maybe more time with Sora because I thought it was pretty cool. Like when there was all the hype, like I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And, everybody's been using OpenAI for forever. So it just has your projects and all the other stuff that you can have like kind of in the platform. It was good, memory and all that, but I just wasn't using it. Like we were talking about, we weren't using it much. They made that announcement, so then I went back to the basic plan. So I don't think I would upgrade. Like it wouldn't make me go to pro, maybe plus or some of the lower ones to leverage it. But you got to think, like people that actually like businesses, you should be jumping. Our small business owners, this is definitely something that you'd want to use for your marketing or anything like that because the consistency is very solid. It can stick to your whole color scheme for your company and everything like that. Between this and Nano Banana Pro with Google, I mean, I think whatever marketing materials that you may need or whatever you're kind of trying to brainstorm on, I would definitely say it would be worth it. If you don't have any subscription and you're kind of hitting that cap, I would say that, yeah, I mean, for the advancement and how solid it is, because before you'd have to, remember we had to give it so many prompts and you're kind of burning through all your usage rate and, tweaking it. Now it's very coherent and everything like that. So I would definitely say test it out, see if it fits your use case.
No,
Just
absolutely.
hopefully OpenAI just changes the name. That's all I need. I need them to
My
come up
thing,
with something cool, man.
I think it is great. I love it. I'm definitely going to try it out. But also, just as OpenAI has something up their sleeve, I still feel like Google is somehow big brother in all of this, right? Because they have the absolute power just to be like, all right,
Well,
cool.
they have the whole
We're,
stack. I mean,
you know what I'm
they
saying? They
have
do this for, I feel like,
yeah,
although Google is very good at generating their whole Gemini suite and their AI labs, right? And I think that they just can do this for fun, right? Whereas OpenAI, this is their livelihood. And Google out
yeah.
here is
Google has that
legit playing with their
diversification, man.
food.
Yeah, yeah. Playing with their
I
food.
think,
I
nah,
don't know about that. Well,
listen,
I'm a huge fan
all
of
right,
Google. Like, I think,
what is this?
well,
We are about to,
you said before that OpenAI always has something, so maybe,
they
but
do,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
but okay, but that race still is tight. Cause look, we about to get into Google I/O
we are.
territory, and I bet you they're going to drop. They just saw this. They about to drop their next Nano Banana model, and it might blow this out the water. I don't know how. And remember
Maybe.
before we talked about. I don't even understand. I can't fathom how much better it can get, and it steadily gets better
Man, I mean,
every
you remember
time.
years ago, like it was just like the improvements. Like I think, oh, Midjourney. I used to use Midjourney. I was just like looking at Midjourney, like there's no way it can get any better than this. And I'm talking about Midjourney when it was in Discord only, like you know what I mean, like
Yes,
originally, like just all that. And then of course, they moved to their own platform and all that. But like I've been on the image models for forever, even since what was it, Dolly 2? Like way,
yeah,
way back in the day. Maybe the
yeah.
original. I can't remember the original Dolly, but all the thing is like I've been playing around with these tools and now they're just like so flexible. Any aspect ratio, a lot of your content they kind of think through. And it's like, definitely, like I said, I mean, if you are, small business owners or entrepreneurs, if you can use it for work or dualpreneurs,
Well,
like if you're kind of building on both, like this is, these are tools that you
I'll
definitely
give
want to
you a
play
great
with.
use case, especially for OpenAI, their new image model, GPT Imagen 2. If you're a small business owner, let's say you're designing shirts, you can use this to do mock-ups of your design. For example,
Comic book writers, like if
comic
you're a
book. I
writer
mean,
and you
I
want to
would
kind of do that,
love to
anything.
see
Yeah.
these images are so cool. Even for my educators out there, if you need infographics material to put up for your classroom, this thing is sweet. You know what? For the regular, everyday, average person, if you want to come up with some artwork for your house, you can get an image made, right? If you don't like whatever artwork that's out there, the stock artwork, man, you can create whatever image you want, and I mean, it'll be yours. Get it printed and boom. Well, free-ish, freemium, free-ish. But I think it's so cool. You guys check it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you create. Show us what you create if you do create anything with it. I'd love to see it because there's so many cool things that you can do with these tools. And this is something I think you guys should take note of.
Yep.
But yes,
Yeah, so I mean, like, I agree, man. I think there's a lot of use cases for it, but yeah. Lastly, just to get into real quick, there's great news. Basically, if you have expense, also in the vein of our entrepreneurs, like, so if you are spending a lot on admins and everything like that, just to clear up some of your time. I mean, essentially, if you're spending like 4,000 a month or whatever cases, or whatever you are, you may be using what is it, Upwork, and yeah, you might be using Upwork, you may be using these other platforms, or you may hire somebody on or whatever like that to kind of use it. But now, and Deuce, we talked about this before. These AI agent platforms, and AI agent is definitely, I think, my opinion is 2026 is the year of the AI agent because they're really getting coherent. That they've built these natively into these workflows, and they're really getting smart. I can't talk enough about AI agent workflows, and like if you aren't leveraging those or building those out or getting familiar with those, and both for your professional career and also personal, just play around. Pick one, kind of play around with it, get used to the concept. Lindy, Gumloop, Relevance AI, Career AI as we mentioned kind of before, they run between $30 and $100 a month, depending on certain plans. And then, of course, they kind of scale up from there. But I mean, you're talking about customer follow up, inbox triage, data entry, some of the project management kind of things, from the sources, they're saying that reportedly 94% of small businesses that adopted AI agents this year or platforms such as those that I mentioned before, they cut costs by 30% in Q1 of this
And
year.
when I tell you
They cut
that's not
costs.
nothing,
Yeah.
that's nothing to sneeze at, especially if you're a small business or a startup, even if you're a big business, right? When I tell you lower cost means higher profit all the time, all the time. I think this isn't something that has to replace something. It's more so, let's think of it as, let's say you're bootstrapping, you're a startup, you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to, figure things out. Instead of hiring that person, sometimes use these things to automate some tasks for you, get some things done out the door. It'll save you in the long run
Yeah.
a lot
And the
more.
thing is, the positive spin on that, like, I know we talk about displacements and all this other stuff, but currently, if you're an admin assistant, the coolest thing about the skill is kind of going back to Deuce, like you were saying, like you being a developer, you kind of know certain things. Like admin assistants now, I mean, like, those are, individuals that can really turn into AI automation consultants and everything like that because they kind of know workflows and they know all these other things. So they can kind of set
Absolutely.
those. So now it's just like you got to, start basically training yourself and kind of understand like how to leverage these platforms, going back to what we were saying before. I mean, like because now you can handle more workflow basically, on there, or you can design the actual workflow itself because it's something that these administrative assistants or admins, they've been doing for so long. So this actually, they have a blueprint to kind of set those things up and kind of say this is how something should run. So definitely there's a positive spin on some of these things because now you can actually turn into the orchestrator and basically let something else kind of actually do that work, and you can kind of just set up that foundation for it. That's cool, at least something to think about it from my perspective. But what else you got to do?
No, absolutely. Honestly, I just think that, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head with the agents or just the agentic framework that has been dropping. It's getting better and better, as well as every model we've been seeing. But this year, for sure, I think it's taken off, and I think that this is something else you can take advantage of in two ways. Not only using it, but also, like you said, if you're an admin, hey, you can consult with companies and tell them how to use these things properly. Because at the end of the day, you're going to still need somebody with a guided knowledge and understanding of the ins and
Yeah.
outs of your company or whatever. And I think that is pretty cool. And I think, did we say give one of the tools, or I guess we'll drop the link of
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
I would
tools.
definitely say pick one and like, out of Lindy, Gumloop, Relevance AI, Create AI.
Yeah,
We can drop links in the description, like so you can go.
we'll
We
drop
need to
them
get our
below.
affiliate link. So
Hey, listen. Hey, somebody, look, we need to get that popping.
we
Look,
need
you
to
know
get
what?
that. Yeah, we need to set. But I
Let me
mean,
go talk to
even outside of
Perplexity.
affiliate link, like I would just say, like definitely leverage one of these. Like I've used Lindy, I've used Relevance AI, and I like how they have. I didn't really play around too much with Create AI and Gumloop. I haven't played around with those, but with Relevance AI is really good, and that's they've leaned more into sales and kind of other stuff like that. But their setup is really good, natural language, and Lindy is like super easy to set up. I mean, it plugged in directly. You can do all your authorizations for your tools and everything like that. So I really like their platform as well. So if I had to, suggest any, I would say Lindy and Relevance AI, but definitely check out Create AI, Gumloop, and I think Deuce, you were using one as well, right? There was one that you recommended.
There was a couple I used. I can't think of the name off the top. It was a while ago though, but there's a few out there. Currently, I'm using Base 44 for some
Yeah,
stuff and their AJ2 stuff. Outside of that, just Perplexity Computer right now. But there are a couple other, and I got to go back and dig through because there are some that I wanted to check out. But yeah,
yeah, man.
I
There's a
mean,
lot.
if our listeners are, if you guys using any agentic tools or some frameworks that you personally like, let us know in the comments what you guys are thinking. There's a lot out there, and there could be an agent for almost any type of work you can find.
What did
So
you say? There was an
let
app
us
for that.
know.
There's an agent for that.
There's an app for that, and now there is an agent for that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully we'll start getting those affiliate links coming in. But, I think that a lot of these tools and things are really beneficial if you take proper advantage of them and just learn them. And then once you unlock one, it's like a domino effect. You're going to be hooked. But of course, you know, we're here to help you navigate those waters and figure out what's best for your personal use case. And hey, always let us know what you guys think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share. Man,
Peace.
all right, that's it. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.
Next one.